Yeah, right there, son. I'm actually on day 3 of my cross-country Japan bike tour at the minute, but while I've got a bit of time this morning, because I don't think I'm going to get a chance to do this for probably another week or so, and if I don't do it now, I'll probably forget. But while I've got a little bit of time, I thought I might as well quickly show you around my bike, show you the setup that I'm taking with me to go almost the entire way up the country, south to north. But anyway, here's a look at my bike, fully loaded up. And I think I've introduced the bike before. I think it might have been the first ever video that I did, but I'll say it again. It's a Ribble CGR AL gravel bike, and it's set up with Shimano 105. And I don't really know why I'm coming closer, to be honest, because I went through some dirty mountain paths yesterday and I've only had alcohol wipes to wipe it down, so it might be a bit filthy down here. But the bike had a service recently, which has made it feel great. It's felt amazing so far. But since I had a 50 to 32 cassette on before the service, and I wasn't going to be able to get that again because it needed replacing. I wasn't going to be able to get that again until June. The person at the bike shop put a 50 to 34 tooth cassette on. A couple of days of riding through the mountains and I've really noticed that extra gear coming in handy. So good. Now I'll skim through my bags back to front. For my panniers, I've got Arkel dry lights, which I've used for all of my trips so far in Japan because they're the only bags that I brought with me from the UK. And they're not as big as traditional Ortlieb touring panniers are. But when I originally bought them for a trip around Mallorca and Ibiza, I wanted ones that were as light as possible. And I'm not even that much of a weight weenie, to be honest, but I kind of knew at the same time that I would be able to fit everything I need, at least, in these size panniers. And having a model of pannier that's lightweight as well is just a bonus. And if I remember rightly, while they're not as expensive as 2 Ortlieb pannier bags, they're not the cheapest panniers in the world, so I didn't really want to spend like hundreds more pounds buying more bags when I already had 2 perfectly good ones here. And in both of these, I've pretty much got all of my clothes. This bag, very simple setup. It's just a dry bag strapped onto the top of the rack, and inside this dry bag I've got my sleeping bag and I've got my camping chair. When I first brought the bike over here, apart from these panniers, I pretty much left like all the rest of the accessories at home just to save weight on the package when I brung it over. So I left my Voile straps at home. So these straps are from a company called Tri-Lancer, and I would have just bought Voile straps again, but over here in Japan I've never seen an XL one, because I had the XL ones to strap a dry bag to the rack previously, but I haven't seen the bigger ones in any shops. And even when you see them in the shops, they seem to be more expensive than they are back home. So I went for these straps from a company called Tri-Lancer, and so far they're actually really good for the price. I think these were like 1,500 yen maybe for 4. I've got no complaints about them. Very nice straps. Now, I filmed a bit about my sleep setup earlier, which I'm going to repeat myself now again, but the kind of theme, or like half theme of my entire setup is about budget. Because leading up to this, I've not had the deepest pockets to buy new bags, but I kind of wanted a mix of like stuff that was, you know, decently cheap and well reviewed and stuff. So I've tried my best to find things that kind of fit that mold. And this frame bag is the Blackburn Outpost, which, you know, it's not the cheapest frame bag you can buy, and this came in at just under 10,000 yen. And while it's not a full frame bag, it is like a normal frame bag that comes up to here that you can unzip if you need more space, which I definitely do, because in here I'm keeping my tent poles and my electronics pouch, which is quite girthy, but it also has a few other things which I can access quite quickly. And since it's not a full frame bag, I can still get a bottle of water underneath here. And I'm just realizing now that my second water bottle's gone missing. So I'm guessing that might have happened when I was on the rough mountain roads yesterday, but I had no idea, so that's fun. Now we'll come up to the cockpit area, where we'll start with my favorite sort of bike bag. Like, I literally always have one of these sorts of bags on my bike pretty much at all times, and that's a top tube bag, because it's so easy just to chuck things in here, like your phone, your wallet, a mask, keys, anything like that. Just so easy access, zip open, you're in. Here we've just got a cheap stem bag that I bought from AliExpress, which is literally only being used to put my GoPro in right now, just so I can have really quick access to it. And here we've got my front light, and here we've got my GPS cycling computer, which is my Hammerhead Karoo 2. And I always use this for rides anyway, so I was never going to be in a debate of whether to use my phone or this for navigation. And I do prefer this over my phone for navigation, because you never really in fear at any point in the day that your phone's going to run out of battery. And of course up here I've got my trusty speakers, which I'm actually not using as my primary audio source at the minute, and that's because as I introduced my speaker back into my setup as I was making these videos, I realised as I was pulling my GoPro out to take B-roll, the bloody music would be playing over the top, and then if I put some music over the top of that in post, then it would super clash with each other. So every time I pulled the GoPro out for B-roll, I had to pause the music and then unpause it again, and apparently I just found that one step too annoying. So at the minute I'm wearing these weird like ear cuff type headphones, which for the lack of a better term are basically open back headphones. And these specific ones are like a Chinese copy off Amazon of a brand called Ambi here in Japan. And it's basically a small speaker that sits on your ear, but it continues to let in all the sound that's around you still. And obviously I could have went for bone conduction as well, but I went for these because the price was good and they had loads of good reviews, so I thought, why not? And they are actually pretty good. I'm quite enjoying them so far. And we'll round everything off with my bags at the front, starting with my handlebar roll, which is a Bursman, but I can't remember the exact model name because I only bought it because I seen it on Cycle Base Asahi, I think, on their website, and it was stupidly cheap. It was like 3,800 yen, I want to say, when I think this retails for like 8,000 plus. So I was like, right, yeah, I'll get that. So even though it's not my first choice, it's holding up pretty good so far, even though, well, I guess it's a problem with all handlebar rolls, but it's just super annoying to have to put the bag on every day, but what can you do? And in this bag I have my tent, the pegs, sleeping mat and ground mat. And these fork bags are the newest addition to my setup in the fact that before I started the trip I hadn't ridden with them on at all, so I kind of didn't really know whether they would work. I kind of took a bit of a gamble because I bought them so close to me setting off. But I have a picture here of me when I was testing the bike before, and I had a bit of a mad stack at the back, so I figured why not get some of the weight off and put it on my forks a little bit, because the area is quite bare down here. And here I've got two 5-litre bags strapped to Topeak Versa cages, because I've got no mounts on my fork to put any other type of cage mount on really. So these Topeak cages will just let you strap with some plastic straps straight to your fork. And then up here in these bags I've got my tools, my shoes, and then kind of other miscellaneous things that aren't really fitting in any of the bags. I'll just chuck them in here. Because it seems like I've just about fit everything in my setup that I've got now, which is good, and everything rides really well, but I'm kind of in a bit of position with this coat because I haven't had to take it off yet because it's been raining the past 2 days, but I don't really know which bag I'm going to put this coat in when I probably have to take it off today, but I mean, we'll find that out as the day goes on. I'm sure it'll fit somewhere. And I'll insert this little section about my sleeping setup just before I pack everything away, but it is 7 AM right now, so pretty tired, so I'm probably just going to skim over everything quite quickly, to be honest. But to be honest with you, I don't really have that much to say about the camping equipment because I'm not knowledgeable about camping at all because I've barely done it, so I just grabbed a couple of recommendations that I've seen online and just worked from there really. And the main theme of this setup is definitely budget because, you know, I didn't have massively deep pockets when I was setting this all up, so I've just kind of went with the most budget friendly options, we'll say, that I could. And the tent itself is a Nature Hike Cloud Up 2, which came very recommended online for something that's good quality and pretty cheap, because I think I paid about 15,000 yen for it, which at the time at least was just under 100 quid, which will do me nicely. And the mat that I'm sleeping on is an Ecotech Hibernate, which is probably the most contentious thing in my setup so far. I've had 2 nights of camping so far on this journey, and I don't really know whether it's like the position I'm trying to sleep in or the mat itself, because I'm neither a camping expert by any means or just a good sleeper in general. So I need to give myself a bit more time to figure out what the real problem is, because I'm not getting the best sleep that I can be. But it's not like it's uncomfortable. Like when I'm just lying down on it, it feels fine. Like it's not uncomfortable by any stretch of the imagination. And I've got my sleeping bag and my pillow here, which aren't too exciting because they're just random cheap ones that I found on Amazon. This one's even an Amazon owned brand, this Eno one, but you know, they're fine. I've got no complaints about them. I can't tell if anything's wrong with them or not, because as I say, I know nothing about camping at all. It's been warm enough if I've got layers on, so seems fine by me. So I hope you've enjoyed this brief rundown of my bike before I start publishing the videos, but for now I'm quite eager to get myself going in some of this springtime sun. So until my journey begins, well, you know, the journey's already begun for me because I'm on day 3, but until the first video is published, I'll see you later.